Okay, let's talk clipless pedals. Many of you are going to be familiar with what clipless pedals actually are, but some people obviously won't be. So this quick explanation is for you. Clipless is a very stupid word. I'm sure there's a good reason for it, but maybe there's not, because there's a lot in the world that doesn't have a good reason for it. But clipless doesn't mean what the word actually means. So back in the day, pedals used to have toe clips, which again weren't even clips. They were like leather straps that you would strap across your toe to keep it stuck to the pedal, basically. And then they had these metal like toe boxes, which I do have somewhere in the garage, but I'm not going to dig them out because they are 100 years old and they're also like buried under stuff. But I cycled with toe clips on one bike for years and years and years. So there's metal boxes and they're called toe clips. They're not clips at all, but you put your feet in and that metal or the leather strap or whatever you have sort of keeps your foot in place. So when pedal technology took away that metal toe box and that leather strap, they were taking away the toe clip, even though there was no clip. And so the new technology, which very ironically clips you into the pedal, is now called clipless. So the word itself doesn't actually make sense because it's the opposite. Clipless pedals and clipless shoes actually clip you in. It's so stupid. So for a lot of people, and me included, clipless means SPD. SPD is a form of clipless technology from Shimano. Shimano's SPDs look like that on the bottom, and the pedals are super small. Other brands have different clipless technology. Again, you clip into all of these pedals. So most people will call it clipless. People like me who grew up with SPDs, I guess, will call it SPDs. There are other technologies like look pedals, and I'm sure there are other ones that I just don't know about. So the main point here is that clipless means clipped in. It's a stupid term. There's nothing we can do about that. So the reason why clipless technology is even a thing at all is because you're clipped into the pedal, and so the pedal is literally attached to the bottom of your shoe. So that means you're exerting force on the pedal on the downstroke, but when you're coming up, when you have flat, non-clipped in shoes, then you're using the force that you put down to bring that pedal up. You're not actually using more force. Physics people out there are gonna hate me for this. But when you're clipped in, you're also pulling that pedal up on the upstroke and down, and then you're pushing it down on the downstroke. So you are basically exerting force over the pedal and thus the movement of the bike at all parts of the pedal stroke, down and up. This can make the efficiency of your energy output far better than if you were just pushing down and then using that sort of momentum to bring the pedal back up again. So this is why people love clipless shoes, namely road cyclists. So because it's more efficient, it will also save you energy theoretically, and it will make you faster theoretically. So if you're looking at elite cyclists, they're going to be clipped in. Elite triathletes, they're going to be clipped in. But if you're actually looking at regular people, there's a bit less of a benefit there, and perhaps the wins you can get in cycling might more easily come from somewhere else rather than investing in clipless technology, but I'm going to get on to that in a second. It does make quite a big difference when you switch to clipless when you're a road cyclist, and you can really feel that change in energy in your pedal strokes. And that moves us on to chapter 2.
Kit, I hear you ask, why don't you ride clipless? Great question. And the answer is, I do ride clipless, or rather, I have historically ridden clipless. I grew up riding clipless, always rode with SPDs. And I did up until 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, when I bought my Ribble gravel bike, which I love, and I reviewed 4 years later, in the corner that I can't point to because I'm holding a camera. It'll be up there. The geometry of this bike and the size of the frame means that I have, with clipless, my toes overlap my front wheel like so. And so it's not really a problem if I'm just cycling in a straight line, obviously. And you're normally cycling in a straight line. Normally your front wheel is pointing straight ahead because, well, otherwise you'd probably fall off. But cycling up the very steep Dartmoor hills that I cycle up, and where I'm cycling today in fact, in this lovely baking hot after work ride, cycling up these hills means sometimes I go so slowly that my front wheel is not going in a straight line. It's zigzagging all over the place, and that's a really common occurrence for hills as steep as the ones that are around here. I just sort of grind up them really slowly. You know, you can get like 10%, 15% hills around here really easily and on like completely normal cycle routes. As a result, if I'm wearing clipless pedals, my front wheel knocks me off, taps my toe, and even though I'm going really slowly, I'm going too slowly to safely unclip my shoe and get out, put my foot down safely. I can't ride clipless on this bike. I could if I was riding it not here, but I live here, so I know this from experience, because when I first got this, I immediately put SPD pedals on it, got my SPD shoes out, and started riding it. Went up a really steep hill, fell off, and this happened. Don't know if you can see that, some scratches, ripped my bar tape, and crashed into my brother-in-law. Whoops. So yeah, clipless on this bike, not ideal where I live. One of you lovely people though put in the comments a couple of weeks ago that you have reversible pedals, so flat on one side, clips on the other. I have seen them before, especially on mountain bikes, but I have never investigated them. But I actually really like the idea of that, because I would like to ride clipless on this bike when I am in a flatter place or just doing a flatter ride, and then I can just have flats when I am going up these hills. Chapter 3. What are the pros and cons of going clipless exactly? Let's take a really quick look. So pros include energy efficiency. You exert less energy and you get more out of your energy that you do exert, because you're using it through all parts of the pedal stroke, downwards and upwards. And that's pretty much it. That's why it was invented, because it's just more efficient. And that means that you can go faster for less energy, which is really good. It's also great on hills. If you don't have toe tap, it's fantastic on hills, because obviously you're using less energy to get up something that's tough. Plus it's great if you're cycling long distance because it uses less energy. Aside from that, the only other benefit really is that it makes you look a bit cooler, like a bit more like a pro, a bit more like a roadie. And the converse of that is obviously that you don't. So let's talk about the cons. The first con that probably most people actually reach when even considering it is that they're a bit scared of clipping in. They don't like the idea of being clipped into a bike and having to, you know, have any risk of not being able to unclip. And I do get that, but it's a mental block more than a practical block. For a start, it's very unlikely that you'd ever need to unclip going at speed. In fact, you just wouldn't. So you don't need to worry about not being able to unclip and coming off your bike fast. You're much more likely to not be able to unclip going slow, because that's the only time you're really ever going to want to, like for a traffic light or something. And again, once you get used to unclipping, you'll be able to do it really easily. It won't really worry you that much. But I can see why it's a block to overcome in the first place. But that is much more a mental block than a physical block. You will probably get used to clipping and unclipping pretty quick. Another con, which nobody ever talks about, is the cost of it. You have to buy new pedals and new shoes, and both those things can be really expensive. You can find them pretty reasonably online, second hand. Still, you're going to have to shell out some money at the very least. And so lots of people don't really want to spend any more money on their bikes that they probably already have spent loads of money on. Then there's obviously toe tap, which only shorter people are going to be familiar with. Maybe children. I'm 5'4", 162 centimetres, and I get toe tap not on everything, but I get it on my gravel bike. It's obviously a bit of an issue for me. I haven't had it on road bikes before or my mountain bike, but that is an issue that taller people just won't even consider. This hill just doesn't end. And why, Kit? Why are you filming going up a really steep hill going at 1 mile an hour? It's because the roads around here are either uphill or downhill, and downhill is too dangerous to film on. And the final con is that you might ride clipless on some bikes and not on others. So, ooh, that was a dead squirrel surrounded by flies. So if you are cycle touring, for instance, you know, long distance, that's great for clipless. But if you're really going ultra light, you probably don't want that many pairs of shoes. So I personally just wear my trainers for cycle touring because I don't want to carry around my trainers and wear my clipless shoes. So there's that too. There's lots of reasons why people might not want to go clipless. So those are the cons. And God, why are there so many dead animals along here? What's going on? So the pro is it saves you energy, and my God, it feels really good too. And the cons are, well, all of the above really. So let's head to
Chapter 4. Should you go clipless? Now, obviously in this whole video I've been talking about the pros and cons, my history of it, why I currently don't ride clipless, things like that. But now you might be questioning whether you should or you should just ditch it. And here's what I will say. It doesn't have to be the be-all and end-all. It's very quick to change pedals over if you decide to ride clipless pedals one day or flat pedals the next, depending on the terrain or the geography of where you're going. You also really shouldn't feel pressured into riding clipless if you don't want to. There are loads of reasons why people do, and there are loads of reasons why people don't. But people who are converted to clipless or have just discovered it are like, oh my God, why didn't I do this sooner? And why isn't everyone doing it? And oh, like, you should definitely ride this way too. Not considering things like the geometry of the bike or the cost of just buying new pedals and new shoes. Those are not inconsiderable costs. There's also this kind of feeling sometimes that if you're a road cyclist and you're not wearing clipless, then you're somehow less than or something. But again, it's just people aren't quite seeing the big picture of how riding clipless or not riding clipless might affect other people's lives than their own. People tend to look at things from just their experience, and they're genuinely trying to be helpful most of the time, suggesting that perhaps you want to start riding clipless because it's not as scary as a lot of people might think it is. And that is true, it's really not scary. It doesn't take that long to get used to. But as I've said in the previous part of this video, there are many reasons why you might not want to ride it. And if you live in a very hilly place like I do, that's a pretty strong reason. Ultimately, it is 100% down to you. Unless you are riding at an extremely professional elite level, then you could find the benefits that you get from clipless elsewhere in your riding. So you could get fitter or train more or train on a different type of road surface or loads of things that you might not have considered. So while you'll get more energy efficiency from going clipless, you'd also get more energy efficiency if you curated your diet before training rides to be something that allowed you to really like burn the correct amount of calories and things like that to really fuel your ride. You might gain that same kind of energy efficiency from being more hydrated before you ride. It's really easy to buy our way into fitness and efficiency and lightweightness, whereas actually you could probably not pay any money and get those similar kinds of benefits or similar end results from another part of your riding. And this is something that nobody really talks about because they can't sell you that. Nobody can sell you just drink more water before you go on a bike ride, and you'll find that your energy stays much higher during that bike ride than if you come in chronically dehydrated, like a lot of people do naturally in their day-to-day lives. So sure, you could buy an entire clipless system, or you could just drink more water. And obviously that's not a like for like, but you see what I'm saying? Like if you're just a completely average rider like me, for instance, you feel like, oh, maybe I should go clipless, otherwise I'm not really like a proper roadie or whatever, or I want that energy efficiency, then sure, do it. But if you're just looking for that kind of improvement, find it somewhere else first. Find it in places that don't cost any money or don't put any extra pressure on you. Then you can move across to something like clipless later on. But ultimately, it is your choice. Do what you want to do. Do not feel pressured by what other people want. If you love riding clipless or want to give it a go or really feel like it's going to add something, 100% do it. I really do love riding clipless. I miss it so much, and it's just the fact that my bike currently and the terrain I live in doesn't allow me to ride clipless at the moment. Otherwise, I would be riding it. Not for energy efficiency though, just because I really like it. It's really satisfying and just fun. I hope this video has been useful, and I will see you in the next one.